The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on a break!
With Ambar Garcia, Bryan Broaddus, Nick Harris, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Monday, November 25th, 2024, Season 20, Episode number 74. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, presented by LG. LG is the world's number one OLED TV brand for 11 years and counting. See why at LG.com/OLED Evo. And man, do we have a game to discuss today. Craziest game. I had somebody ask me last night, was this the craziest game in my 24 years? And I still don't think it was the craziest. I still think the Buffalo game with the 5 interceptions by Tony was the craziest game I've ever been a part of or been to. But this one was right up there. It certainly was a top 3 for me. Cowboys get the win 34-26. Let's start with stories of the game. What is the story?
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Would the Atlanta game, that watermelon kick game, be
that one came up.
Okay, Dan Quinn has been part of 2 games like that then.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy to
on
think
the
about.
opposite side both times.
Yeah.
Which is weird to say too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure Dan is sitting there like, what the just happened? Because, I've seen the graphics of, where the score was with, 5 minutes left in the game. And by and large, let's be honest, most of this game, Amber, you were up there. We were sitting, like beside.
I was yawning.
Yeah, I mean, most of this game, it was kind of like,
where is the coffee?
There just was no real offensive firepower. There wasn't a lot of scoring. It was just kind of this back and forth, almost a comedy of errors. And then all of a sudden, bam, it just hits and it goes. So what was the story of the game? What was the story of the game as you look back now over what happened yesterday?
This team's fighting. 3-7 going into this game. I think you talk to most of the fan base. Heck, you talk to us. We're moving on to draft, but this team hasn't stopped fighting, and I think you saw that in the final 5 minutes last night. I mean, you look at the clock, 5:30 to go. The score's 13-9, and then it ends 34-26. So they had to weather a lot of storms, a lot of back and forth action, a little bit of luck involved too, no doubt. But this team's fighting on both sides of the ball, and I have to give credit to the defense more so, just because it feels like all 11 are playing together right now, and it's trended that way over the course of the last couple of weeks. They haven't been able to finish games because the offense hasn't given them any help at all. The offense finally held them out yesterday, got them up 20-9, and then that's when all the craziness happened. But I think this defense is continuously getting better as each week goes by, and once they get fully healthy, once they get everybody back, I think this is a solid unit for Mike Zimmer. But there's a deeper conversation about Mike Zimmer that I think we need to have moving forward. Is he a guy that you keep around no matter what at this point? Because I think he's a guy that has gotten this defense better as the year's gone on. He's weathered these injuries. Might not be a conversation for today, but I think we need to have a deeper conversation about Mike Zimmer moving forward.
We definitely are going to do that. Let's go on. Amber, what's your story of the game?
My story is that, man, winning feels good. I forgot what it felt like. No, like seriously, it's just a different vibe coming in. I'm tired and everything, but it just feels different. The vibe around the office, lights, all the lights were on today. Just for reference, like they turn in our floor where we work, they turn half of the lights off, so it's like dimmer and just people enjoy the moodiness to it.
I used to do it to watch film. You guys, I beat you guys in.
Well,
I keep
today,
that place
this morning,
dark.
all the lights were on, and we're just over here working. Everybody is like, happy to be here. And then another thing is like, Derek's favorite thing on the plane are cookies. Last night,
One of my favorite things on the plane.
They ran out of cookies. They were like, sorry, the players and the coaches, they all eat cookies if they run out of cookies. I'm like, dang. So
they're going to be fat and slow on Thursday?
That's what I said. I was like, I don't love that. My players are eating up all the cookies. What's going on here?
Hey, I don't mind it. You celebrate with cookies, that's fine. Hey,
that's facts. You earned it. You earned it.
Absolutely. But just to that, I just think what the defense is starting to show, it's exciting when you start considering all the different things that they're having to overcome, mainly with the injuries. And once again, maybe it's coincidence, I don't know, but it just goes to show again what Micah Parsons' presence does to this defense, because that's when everything started to trend upwards, was when he made his return to the lineup. Things just started improving slowly. And then when you think of a game without Trevon Diggs and then Kalen Carson, I know he wasn't playing well, but it's still another guy that's taken out of your defense. Deron Bland, he had, he's working his way back in it. But just credit to those younger, less experienced, quote unquote, guys that are just working so hard on defense. And it's been impressive, honestly. Now on offense, you got to step it up more. But again, just celebrating and happy today.
Tip of the cap to Mike Solari. We've been giving him a lot of crap this whole year. And the offensive line at times hasn't been very good. You go into the game yesterday, you get the inactive list 90 minutes before the game. You see Martin and Smith both out.
Yep.
You're thinking absolute disaster. They're not going to run the ball. They're not going to attempt to run the ball. They're not going to be able to protect well enough to even move the football. And you're picking, Commanders 32, Dallas 6. That's one of those games you're thinking about. But give the offensive line some credit yesterday. The guys, Hoffman came in. He brought toughness to. He's not as talented as what Martin is, but he brought the same amount of toughness. When you start to talk about the way it was a kind of a chippy game, with those guys. They did a really good job with their combo blocks when they were able to, run the football, the pass protection, and there were plenty of times where Cooper Rush was able to find a receiver, to locate a guy, and get the ball out. So you have to be fair about this. And Mike Solari has been taking a lot of crap, but yesterday he did a really good job of getting young guys ready. Couple, I say young, veteran guys, but as a group, those 5 guys actually played 6 guys yesterday, if you include Awesome Richards into that contest. But, they need to work on, going into the game. We talked about this a little bit. I know in our pregame show, 105.3 The Fan, we talked about the officials and Trey Blake. This is a crew that called when linemen were lining up deep. That was one of the calls, and we talked about it when we have a thing called the Zebra Report, and it played out that this is a crew that is going to call you if you line up deep. And there were a couple of times where he was deep. He was deeper than CD in the slot. You can't be that deep. Yep. They're going to call that. But other than that, those guys did a good job of holding up front. They created lanes. They gave you protection. They'll figure out, too, what needs to be done on that field goal protection thing with BB and Schoonmaker. After the first block, they kind of interlocked legs, and it was better that way. So, but tip of the cap to those guys for getting it done up front in that game yesterday.
I was able to chop it up with Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass in the locker room after the game, just kind of being like, hey, when did y'all find out you were starting? How did you feel like it went? And TJ had found out earlier in the week, obviously, and then Brock had found out the morning of. So yesterday morning, he found out that he was going to be starting. And it was kind of a similar situation for both of them because they both started in the game in Washington last year in Week 18, but it was the roles were reversed. Brock found out the morning of, and TJ found out the morning of flip-flop. But I had asked him, what about these opportunities do you guys relish the most? He's like, well, we're 2 undrafted guys. We take that personally. We want to be able to show that we were worthy of at least a draft spot. And Brock was like, yeah, it was pretty ugly. And TJ was like, that's just the way we like it. So I appreciated those 2 guys' efforts. Do you want to guess how many total pressures they gave up in the game?
3.
What do you got?
Total pressures
allowed by TJ Bass.
And I didn't look
Brock
this
Hoffman.
up, but I was just watching the tape this morning. It seemed like they were pretty low, so I just guessed a really low number.
Based on your little giddy smile, I would say maybe 2.
Okay.
I would say probably 3, but because I know BB had 0.
Yeah.
So I would say probably 3 between the 2 of them.
According to Pro Football Focus, it's a fat goose egg for both of those guys.
So the interior gave up 0 pressures.
0. Yeah.
How's that possible? Didn't Payne get a sack?
According to Pro Football Focus.
I think, didn't he get a sack there at closer to the end of the game? I thought.
They gave, I was trying to think about That was a sack.
They did register a sack to Payne. I'll see what he was lined up against.
I wonder who that was against.
Trying to think who that was against.
Because he's a defensive tackle. You would think it would be against one of those three, you would think. But
that's why I thought it was
Unless
three.
He was split out wide.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, it was, to me.
It was good.
Yeah, it was good. By the way,
Maybe one.
Let's not get lost in the details on that. The fact of the matter is, when I first saw that those two guys were out on the offensive line, I looked at Nick, and because on the show last week I said, if you get all these guys back, I think this sets up for the Cowboys to be able to go up there and get a win. And then when those two guys are out, I was like, I don't know if I feel too good about the possibilities here, because what we've seen all season is the offensive line has not been able to protect, haven't been able to effectively run.
He did have a sack.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you lose the two guys in the middle that are the most veteran of this group. And so I just didn't think it was going to be a way that they were going to be able to get that done. But what we saw yesterday was, and credit to, I think you credit not only Mike Solari, but you also have to credit Mike McCarthy and the offensive staff of being able to call the right kind of game for these guys, because they did take there were a lot of quick throws getting the ball out quick, and so that's just kind of understanding where you are and having to play that game.
Kind of felt like we could take advantage of the Commanders' secondary.
Yep, you said that. Yep,
and we talked about too, and I'm glad it worked out. They decided they don't want to cover Schoonmaker going up the middle of the field. We talked about the fact that they'd given up 5 touchdowns to tight ends in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
Make that 6 now.
Yep.
So it was a good victory all the way around. I know there's the folks out there that are like, tank for the better positions and things like that. That's not going to happen with this crew. I mean, we could sit there and all the guys and gals that love to talk about the draft and drafting positions and stuff like that. I mean, I believe this. Dallas is capable of losing games just without tanking. They're also capable of winning games. They showed you that yesterday. Good for the team to get a victory like that, and that was one of the much needed ones too. If you're also try and hang in this thing,
I feel like some people tend to forget that when you're quote unquote trying to tank a season or whatever, it's not a unanimous decision. There might be people that may feel that way, but there are other people that are competing and looking for their next job. Like, these games are still important. They're having to go out there and play as good as they can. And that goes for coaching too. Like, they're trying to put up a game because their next job might not be here. Or if it is here, they're still trying to hang on to that job. So it's not a unanimous thing, and everyone has a different agenda. So don't expect them to just throw the towel and go through the rest of the season trying to lose games.
Well, not only that, but it gets really interesting at this point, because over the next 4 weeks, Dallas plays teams that are right there with them. Like, they've gone through the gauntlet of their season. This is the part of their season where they actually can make some hay. So you start getting back guys and getting healthy at the time that you're going to be playing teams that are not considered to be the better teams in the NFL. This could get real interesting in December. Not to say Dallas has a shot necessarily to get back into the playoffs, because that's going to be a tough uphill road, just because the best they can do at this point is 10-7, which means you got to go 10-7 and hope Philly comes back to the pack. Like, there's a lot that would have to happen for you to get there. The point is, though, if the Cowboys just keep playing every game the way that they played yesterday, they will make it interesting, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Who is the last seed? Do we know who
it's Washington.
It is Washington.
Yeah.
At 7 and
5 now.
7 and 5.
Yeah.
So
Dallas 2.5.
And Dallas plays in the last game of the year, right?
Dallas is 2-1 right now in the division.
Yeah.
Could move to 3-1 in the division. As bad as their record and as bad as their season has been, they still have a pretty good record within, obviously, good record within the division. You got to win out at this point if you got any shot whatsoever. But for those folks that think you want to tank, like, that's just the hard thing, as you said, Amber. I don't think the players are necessarily thinking about it like that, because ultimately they're playing for their next job, playing for their next contract. Coaches playing for their careers. So it doesn't always pan out like that.
I will say things get really interesting if this team does make a playoff push in some way, shape, or even if they come up just short. If they're going into Week 18 with a shot, things are going to get interesting.
Yeah, especially because you start talking about all those conversations people were having prematurely about what's going to happen with the coach and what's going to happen with this and what's going to, like, all of that has to change a little bit. Especially, you mentioned it with Mike Zimmer. Like, this defense has gotten better, and you're starting to think, maybe it wasn't the coordinator. Maybe it was just the fact he didn't have any parts. And now he's getting parts, and all of a sudden this defense is playing better.
our next gen stats, I was looking this up for the pressures. They had 1 for Steele, 1 for Hoffman, 0 for Bass, 1 for BB, 0 for Guyton, 1 for Awesome Richards.
Okay, and I'm looking at this.
That's
sack
impressive.
here.
That's extremely impressive.
It's 33 snaps, 33 drop back snaps.
So I'm looking at this sack because it was not credited to anybody according to PFF. It was not credited to any of the offensive linemen.
They grade that different on those things. I think that
So
are
they
outside
took a
the
break
market.
on that one and
I'm
just let
looking
him.
at the play, and Payne just kind of ran free. It was a broken play, and Rush just kind of fell.
They didn't give
Like, it
anybody
wasn't-
the sack on the. They didn't credit any. Next Gen did not credit anybody with giving
with a
up
pressure on the sack.
with
Or
giving up the sack.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got you.
giving up the sack.
Okay.
They did not.
Interesting.
They did not pin the sack on anybody. But the pressures were 1 for Steele, 1 for Hoffman, 1 for BB, and 1 for Awesome Richards.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's incredible.
Really good day. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we usually start with the offense. Today, we got to start with special teams because there was so much to talk about there. We'll do that when we come back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Don't put off getting your oil change, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. They're so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's stay-in-your-car 10-minute oil change at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. That means you won't even have time to show off your best touchdown celebration. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. With football season kicking off, I'm already gearing up to bring the smoker back to AT&T Stadium for some epic tailgates. But with that Texas heat, it's crucial to keep my beer hand cramping cold. That's where Yeti's insulated Colster can cooler comes in clutch. This year, you can even get them with the iconic star engraved on the side. Licensed Yeti Cowboys gear is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com. Check it out today. Yeti, official cooler and drinkware of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to the break.
LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game, but don't take our word for it. Digital Trends said the LG OLED G4 has the best picture quality they've ever seen. See it for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. The segment brought to you by blockchain.com. All right, man. Special teams yesterday. I don't know. Nick said it was drunk. I think it was. I think the whole game was drunk. But you look at the special teams portion of the
Define
game.
drunk.
You at Rob's wedding. That's drunk.
LSU Saturday night in Death Valley.
That was drunk.
Good one.
No, that was drunk.
I would say that's pretty drunk.
Yeah, I would say that was pretty drunk. All right, let's look at it. So they had a blocked 35-yard field goal.
Yeah.
They had a missed 42-yard field goal, but then made a 46 and a 48-yard field goal.
Yeah.
They had a 23-yard punt that was tipped, so it only went 23. I only got 23 yards out of that.
That destroyed my poor center.
Yeah, right. They had a 99-yard kick return for a touchdown. They had a 43-yard kick return for a touchdown on an onside kick.
Just go to the ground next time.
Washington, right. Washington misses 2 field goals, misses 2 extra points. It was just all over the map, and it just seemed like on both sides, special teams.
You forgot another gaffe that they had.
What was that one?
Right after half. He kicks the ball out of bounds.
Oh, yeah.
They kick it short of the landing
Which is
area.
just weird.
And you give him the ball at the 40-yard line. McCarthy walked up to Bones.
I saw that.
He walked up and dropped a few F-bombs on Bones. Bones was like,
yeah.
He gave that.
That's when the head coach is coaching the coaches.
That's when the coach, he took off his headset and he said, "Don't you ever effing do that again," basically. I mean, he said, "Don't." I mean, and he walked away. And Bones was just Bones. He looked like White the Bones.
But let me ask you this. Are you starting to get at all concerned about the kicking unit? Because Brandon Aubrey has been very, very consistent and very good. And now it's been a couple times that you just have these weird moments.
The block.
Yeah.
The Commanders obviously saw something in the protection because they were able to jump. Like usually, and this is, you're talking to a guy who was a former long snapper, so I kind of understand protection. Usually the wings block inside out. Like you will check inside and then work out is what you do on the outside. And what happened is Schoonmaker immediately went wide. And what happened, he just planted his leg. When the Cowboys, and I watched the ones from there on, they usually interlock their legs. So like BB and Schoonmaker will interlock their legs. What happened was they just jumped right over Schoonmaker's legs because BB was blocking his guy. Schoonmaker went wide, natural gap right there. So they just jumped over the leg and then were on to the kicker.
Yep.
So later they were interlocked, which made it a little bit more difficult, a little bit tighter, to not allow the
Why would they not have been interlocked?
And you know what?
Was it just like a middle gap?
Sometimes it happens where it's like you're doing, you do it a million times and then one time you don't do it. But I think the Commanders saw something off the edge. They're thinking, hey, if they're going to just keep blocking wide and block down and block wide, there's a natural gap for us to be able to try and block this off that edge.
Yeah.
And so, my experience has always been you block inside and then you bounce out, inside and out. Mm-hmm. And Schoonmaker just blocked out, BB inside, and now you just get the Commander just right over, just jumps right over, and then he's onto the.
Do you think that affected the second kick that was missed?
No, I just think he missed the second kick. And I always look at his plant foot.
Yeah.
When his plant foot hits and it kind of gets wonky, like he pulled one, the last miss he had.
Yep.
Remember, his plant foot hit and it rolled on it and it hooked it, it hooked it left. This one, it's kind of like it hit, it flipped, but he pushed it. So, sometimes he kind of punches the ball. He punches it and it's explosive off his foot. So he's able to kind of drive it that way. Mm-hmm. This one was kind of like he was just, when he hit it, he was open and it just stayed right where he hit it. And so the plant foot, the snap was fine, the hold was fine. He just kind of shoved it over there is what he did. But I always look at his plant foot because if it flips on him sometimes it makes him pull it. But this one looked like that everything was okay. He just shoved it outside.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think it affected the punter, though, to be honest with you. The way they were punting at the end of the game, he was kind of like, oh, geez, what do we do? Because they tried to do it again. They tried to drive the center again and get back there and see, But let me be honest with you. Wanye Thomas is the personal protector. He's got to step up.
Yeah.
I mean, make those guys. Yeah, it's the two defensive tackles that are, Newton and Payne. They're pushing, and Wanye just kind of hand checks and then releases. Make them run over all you to get to the ball. Yep. I mean, even if you can't block a 300.
If you're nothing but a speed bump,
make them have to go over the top of you to get to the ball. And Wanye really, really do that. He just checked and then released, and that didn't help Sieg at all. Yeah. He's just got to throw his body in there, sacrifice himself, so they'd have to go over him to get to the ball.
One of the interesting things for Aubrey, He's missed 4 field goals in his career at Washington.
Yeah.
He's only missed 3 anywhere else in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, Washington's just a weird place. For whatever reason,
And
Washington's
the field conditions were pristine.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah, that turf had been replaced 10 days ago.
Yeah.
So nobody had played on that turf. That was brand new turf. So you really can't. Usually you play there late in the year. It's all chopped up and something bad's going on. But not this time.
And it was a beautiful day, so everything was.
I don't know. It was a little
perfect.
muddy. I mean, our shoes got
on
a little
the outside, not on the inside.
Our shoes got a little bit of grass and mud on it. No, but I think, you know what? We all have bad days. Right? We all have bad days. It's normal. I'm not going to be mad and upset. It happens sometimes.
You should be mad at the Commanders kicker. You should be happy that he was not good yesterday.
Exactly.
He had a really bad day.
He had a bad day.
It leveled out, you know.
Yeah.
I think it canceled out each other with that. And again, when you look at everything that Aubrey has done for you and the amount of times where most of your points are only coming from Brandon Aubrey and the field goals that he's made, this is not enough for me to be alarmed or worried about special teams, and they made up for it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the offense here before we take our final break. Let's get to Cooper Rush. Yesterday, he was 24 of 32, 75% completion rate, really high. 247 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a 117.6 passer rating. It was a career high for him. How would you assess his play overall? Because it didn't. I was actually surprised at the end of the game when I saw the numbers, because during most of the game, I felt like the offense just it was doing just a little bit, but just not too much. What did you think of his overall play?
I thought the offense sustained drives. They just couldn't finish them. You look at the 2 missed kicks in the first half. You could look at those 2 opportunities as potential chances to get into the end zone as well. But as far as Cooper Rush and how he played overall, it's what we got used to seeing from him whenever he took over a couple of years ago, and he went 4-1 over that stretch. Doesn't try to do too much, but he does just enough to give your team a shot. And I think what was different this week as compared to previous weeks is he really leaned on CD. And it makes sense. I mean, you got a guy that is a reliable pass catcher, but it was those first couple of drives where he got 5 receptions on those first 2 drives. And you could see that there was an intention early on from CD saying like, hey, lean on me. I can sustain this offense if we can't get this running game going. I don't think this team expected to get the running game going because of how much they leaned on CD early. But then Rico Dowdle was able to sustain some carries, 19 carries for 86 yards, and it really helped out Cooper Rush at the end of the day. I think when you look at those the 1 touchdown drive that ended with the 3rd down pass to Schoonmaker, that was one of the better drives we've seen all season. Well, no matter who is at quarterback, I think whenever you look at how the running game was able to sustain finishing, it wasn't the red zone, but practically finishing in the red zone, and then you see 2 backups being able to execute on a touchdown like that. I thought it was pretty cool, especially for Schoonmaker, who has pretty much been in the doghouse, but got an opportunity and he shined with it. But for me, the difference with Cooper Rush was he leaned on CD, he leaned on some guys, and those guys answered for him.
Yeah, it was good to see some improvement and them being able to move the ball, but totally the same with what Nick said. It's just finishing those and converting on those 3rd downs that it gets to them not being able to get into the end zone as many times, or given the amount of chances that they put themselves in or situations that they put themselves in, you should be seeing more points being scored and that. But again, improvement given from last week and what you saw, and you're like, man, they can't do anything. So I got to give credit to the whole crew and also Mike McCarthy. I thought we saw a couple little nuggets that were a little different than what we've seen so far. So that's improvement in my books.
Yeah, and you mentioned the nuggets, and it really came off the play action stuff. They early in the game they ran a toss sweep and they got good yardage on it. And what they do, they fake tossed
that play.
They fake tossed it, and it brought every one of the linebackers up. Mm-hmm. And then what happened? You get spanned forward, then behind, and now it's a. But here it is. You get the running game going. You get some positive plays going. All of a sudden, you play action that thing. Cooper Rush was 6 of 7 on play action passes for 89 yards in this game. That just shows you if you have somewhat of a running game, you can affect people in that way. Yeah. 12 yards, almost 13 yards an attempt off the play action game. Just get a running game going, and or at least the threat of it, and that brings defenders up, and then you have opportunities to make plays off that.
Yeah, if the running game doesn't have to be great, you just have to be committed to it, and that's what we've
Show
been saying
people
all
that
year.
you can bust a couple of runs off.
Yeah,
it
but
too.
they had in the first half. Rico had 9 rushes. He ended up with 19.
Yeah.
So they were rushing the ball, they were running the ball throughout the game.
Right.
He had a 3.9 average in the first half, but it was enough. I think, as you said, Brian, it was enough to make the defense at least respect the fact that there could be a run, and you had to make sure you devoted people to trying to make the tackle.
Let me also be fair too here, because I'm not always fair, and I need to be more fair. Ezekiel Elliott made a huge play in that game for you. Mm-hmm. He recovered that fumble. Mm-hmm. That high snap, all of a sudden it's like they're scrambling, the ball's on the ground. That's on the 21-yard line. Yeah. That's on your own 21-yard line. He had the presence of mind, like it was all kind of messed up. It's on the ground. He dives, into a pile of 300-pound linemen to get that football. That's the kind of thing we could talk about. He can't do this, can't do this. That was a very football intelligent heads-up play right there to save your series. Because what happened, you get the next play is the pass to Lamb that ends up being roughing the passer. Now you're moving the ball down the field. Yep. Just think about giving the Commanders the ball right there again. And what could have potentially happened. So, in the spirit of being fair, nice job by Ezekiel Elliott making a play, not maybe as an offensive player, but diving in there and recovering that football.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, I think as we gave a little bit of the flowers to Beebe with regard to how he was playing yesterday, some of the snaps were a bit errant yesterday, and we hadn't really seen that a lot from him lately. But yesterday, some of the snaps were kind of off.
Those heavy dudes get right on him sometimes. Yeah. He's like, okay, I got to get this block. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's an experience thing, I think, too. Yeah. The more you do it, the more you get comfortable with the idea. You got to snap first, get the snap there, and then you take care of your responsibility. All right, let's take our final break. We'll come back. Let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. We got to talk about Josh Butler and his effort yesterday. A pretty interesting game for him. We'll talk about that when we come back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. You might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a Pepper thing.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions?
For questions about their money, Dallas Cowboys fans can turn to Erica, the virtual financial assistant in the Bank of America mobile banking app. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/Erica by your side. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Erica responses may vary. Digital tools featured require downloading the mobile banking app and may only be available on select mobile devices. Erica is a mobile feature only available in the English language. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply. Bank of America, N.A., member FDIC.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to the break.
Welcome back. It is the final segment of the break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios. At the Star, you all right?
He said, "Screw AT&T, screw them." He said, "Well, no, Derek. AT&T connects everything. We're connecting here right now because of AT&T.
You're right.
So shout out to AT&T.
And it changes everything too.
It changes absolutely everything.
Oh, well done.
Nick, I'm sorry. Like you had me going there, Bryan, because we were talking about Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And then we come back from break. I'm just like, we gotta go. I'm all excited. Let's go.
No, it's I told you the SEC sucks. I mean,
It's
every
hard.
week every week you feel like you're going to die. Football die. You
It's
just
hard.
do.
I thought coming into this league, I was like, you get the Vandies, you
No.
get the Kentuckys.
No.
And it's like, it ain't
No.
fun. Those are
No.
still hard games, man.
You guys pummeled Florida. Now Florida's pummeling everybody. You
Right.
know, I mean, it's
Right. We just happened to catch him at the right time without Lagway. That's the only thing.
Lagway is going to be
That's
a
the only
problem
thing.
for everybody
Absolutely.
going forward. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and finish this thing off strong. Let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. Josh Butler, man. Yesterday, playing in relief of Trayvon Diggs, another name that popped up yesterday, and they're like, he's not playing. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's no way. Like, I was thinking you got Diggs, and you got Bland, and you got Lewis. You should be fine. And all of a sudden, you don't have Diggs, and you have to throw the youngster Josh Butler out there. But he gets 12 tackles, 1 sack, 3 pass defenses. How would you assess his play yesterday overall? Just not necessarily looking at the numbers, but overall, how do you assess his play?
Could I get some context on Josh Butler really quick? This is a really interesting story. Graduated from Michigan State in 2019, and he actually lost both of his parents while he was at Michigan State. He's a graduate of West Mesquite High School, so he's a Dallas area guy. He's got a huge Dallas tattoo on his chest. He reps it well, and went to LA to go act for 2 to 3 years, and was actually starring in some shows that people have probably seen. All American on the CW.
He was on All American?
He was on All American. He had a role on All American. Yeah, and
like a prominent role?
No, I think it was a supporting role. I honestly don't remember the character he was in
Yeah,
either. I watched the first
like an extra.
Yeah, I watched the first season. I didn't watch past the first season, but I watched the first season. I didn't remember seeing him.
Well, he was easily the best football player on that show. I don't even
would
remember
imagine.
when the show was, but they have awful football players on that show because they throw like anyway. Anyway, he had a couple of years acting in Los Angeles and decided, hey, I want to at least try out for the USFL. He tried out for the USFL, made the team for the Michigan Panthers, played really well. And I think we can all remember whenever he had the training camp opportunity last year in 2023. They brought him in. They had lost somebody. I can't remember exactly who, Derek. Maybe you can remember a little bit better. But they had lost somebody to injury in camp. I think it may have been like Donovan Wilson. They knew they were going to put him on IR or something like that. I don't remember what it was. But they needed an extra DB. Basically, it's just a body. He was one of 3 guys they brought in to work out. He made the team. I think we were all looking around like, okay, he won't be on the final 53. And he wasn't on the final 53, but he made the practice squad, stuck it through on the practice squad last year, made the practice squad again this year, stuck it through, got his first start last week, and then yesterday had a really good opportunity to play. And what was it, 11, 12 tackles. He had a sack, 3 pass breakups. Granted, he was targeted a lot. He was targeted 12 times. He gave up 9 receptions for 87 yards.
That's how you get 12 tackles.
It is
at
100. It is
cornerback.
how you get 12 tackles at corner. But he was feisty. He was whenever I mentioned that this defense has been fighting for Mike Zimmer, I think Josh Butler kind of embodied that yesterday.
Oh, the plays that he made, though, I mean, dealing with Noah Brown is not easy when, that big body and stuff. And for him not to, it's really easy to go around somebody and put your arm around them and try and knock the ball down with the offhand. And the fact that he was able not to get any calls against him, I think he would love to have back the long touchdown,
86-yarder.
Yeah, I tell you what, honestly, you can't throw a ball any better than they pinned that one on Jordan Lewis as the nearest receiver. And Jordan Lewis, I thought, played really, really well for you yesterday,
especially in run defense as well.
He got tagged with the nearest player, so that like he gave up 103 yards. But 87 of it came on one play. That just showed you the kind of game that Jordan Lewis had to play outside too. They played 3 different guys at that cornerback spot, and talking to some people in the organization this morning about with Bland and his situation, and they kept asking him, how do you feel? And he goes, I'm good. And they kept trying to go to him and keep him on the field the best they could. But for Jordan Lewis to line up outside, he carried that route. If you remember McLaurin, the ball that ended up out of bounds, I mean, he carried Terry McLaurin on a deep route. And Jordan Lewis doesn't get to do that a whole hell of a lot. But him, Bland, Butler, those guys, they played really, really well Izzy, they all played really, really well for, a quarterback that for a young guy, he can throw it pretty well, spin it pretty well. They did a good job of covering those guys up.
And Bland's return, 35 coverage snaps that he played, allowed 4 receptions for 28 yards.
Yeah.
And one of those receptions was for 20 yards. So you take that away, that's 3 for 8. He was really good. I think that you saw the coverage unit. And when we talk about when everyone in the locker room is talking about how they played as a unit yesterday, I think Deron Bland's a big part of that.
Yeah.
You look at how much trust that they have over on the outside when 26 is there, it's a lot different.
I'll tell you what, too, real quick on the defense. We asked for them to use Overshown like a poor man's Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
They're figuring it out. Thank God Mike's figuring this out. You bring him in as a pass rusher. He gets pressures, he gets sacks. Unfortunately on the early run, the one where Daniels got like 16 yards, he was in position. He fell down. He's coming on the rush. And he stumbles. And so he's right there in the holes, but he's going to the ground as Daniels is running by. If he's up on his feet, that's a gain of 1 or 2 right there. But the way that they use him as a rusher, blitz, the interception on the Golston play, he's lined up as an off-ball linebacker, then he kind of shifts out to the outside and then comes on a blitzer on the backside. Forces Daniels to kind of have to run, and he throws the ball early, and then Robinson knocks it up in the air, and there's Golston for the interception. So, again, pressure from the backside. He starts off at one spot, move him to another. He gets pressure there. So you got to love the way that Overshown, Lewis, Butler, all these guys played yesterday.
Yeah, real quick, talk to me about Chauncey Golston. You mentioned him.
Yeah.
But here over the last few weeks, it seems like we keep just seeing these solid performances from him. A guy that finally is playing in a position where he's not kind of moving around. He's a guy that is a defensive end, and it seems like he's adapting to that role well.
Yeah, I hate to see that he's going to end up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers doing that and then, get the opportunity there. No, but that's really, there's a lot of these guys are getting to play.
Yeah.
You're getting to see these guys play and full time, and it's really benefiting them. They get maybe 2-3 plays, and then they're not in there for 6-7 plays, and they're back in there for 2 plays. And with Golston, him and Oso Digizua, those guys. Let me tell you this: another game, another division opponent, another good game for Mozzie Smith playing football yesterday.
Yeah.
Power. Yeah. The first play that Robinson, he takes Broaddus and drives him straight back. Robinson's got nowhere to go. There's Osa right there, boom, tackle. Unfortunately, Robinson gets hurt. It affected him later in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't even play anymore.
Yep.
So, but that's it seems like a divisional opponents. Mozzie Smith, his best games, Philadelphia, Giants, and now this one.
It's an interesting point.
Yeah. So he's got Giants on Thursday. He's due for 6 tackles.
But no, go ahead.
With Chauncey Golston, why was he played at defensive tackle for so long? Because now we're seeing him thrive at edge, and he's doing so well. This is a guy that they could have used rotationally.
Last year, think about it. Last year they had way too many. They had so many defensive ends.
More so talking at the beginning of this season. That I understand to a certain extent. That I can understand because the depth was there for sure. They had Dante Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong.
Yeah.
But this year, when they come into a year where they know that there was some young guys, I think they didn't use him at the edge until they had to, and now they're starting to reap the benefits of that. You talk about, he might end up going somewhere in the offseason. I'd pay to keep him here.
I would too.
Yeah.
See, that's your hope right there. If you're a Cowboy fan, and there's a couple of guys right now. Maybe, I don't know if you could get all 3, but on defense, Jordan Lewis would be one for me. Mm-hmm. Golston would be another one for me, and Osa would be another one for me.
Those my 3. Yep.
And everybody else, I could kind of I'll rally when I have to rally.
Yep.
But if you could get one of those 3 guys, me personally, Jordan Lewis. I think Jordan Lewis might be your best defensive player right now.
I agree.
When you start to talk about I get it. Micah Parsons. You're going to tell me Micah Parsons?
No, but Lewis, absolutely.
From down after down after down after down, good or bad, up by, they're never up. Up by a little or getting really beat. Jordan Lewis is a good player for
Honestly, those 3 plus Kavontae Turpin to me are the priorities for this offseason, in my opinion. If you can get those guys and keep them here, then I think you're working with something.
I don't know about Osa.
Why?
I put him as third. I put him as the third guy. Just too up and down.
You need beef in the interior, and he's an undersized 3 tech at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I would just like a little bit more physicality in the. I would completely rehaul the interior.
Here's what I don't like.
He's just trying to tell you he loves this defensive tackle draft.
No, I like that concept. My problem.
I love some Michigan defensive tackle.
My problem is,
Yeah.
man, there's so many areas of this team I'm gonna need to address.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I want to take that one. Like, I got a guy who's serviceable to good in Osa. Like, I don't feel like I need to go crazy. Like, I don't have to replace that one. There are other areas where I feel like I got to do something. So I just want to cover my bases.
That's fair.
And so for me, it's worth. And I don't think, this is knock on wood, I don't think you're going to have to break the bank for an Osa. Now, if you have to do that, then let him walk.
Yeah.
I think you could probably get a deal that makes sense, that's doable, that's makes him happy and makes the team happy and fits within the confines of whatever their restraints are financially.
We're into that 14 to 17 game window where traditionally he doesn't play very well.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Let's see. Yeah,
let's see. All right, appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to we got to jump. We got a quick week coming up here. So tomorrow we get into the Giants offense versus Dallas defense. So until then, for Nick Harris, Bryan Broaddus, and Ambar Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!